Why, hello there, and welcome to Season 2 of Super Pros Bros. I'm Player 1, Ike, and with me, as always, is...
Player 2, Eli, and Count Brocula. Did you know this podcast is available on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify?
Why, my goodness me, I did not, Professor. Are those the same places they could
Like,
comment
share.
and subscribe?
It surely is.
My goodness. I'll have to tell Yennefer.
No one likes these moments.
Oh,
Stop. Get some help.
okay. Well, while I'm getting some help, what have you been doing in your life? What's been going
Been
on?
sick. If you can tell from my voice being down like a third,
We are
I've
friends.
oh, yeah,
Nice. You brought out the inner bullfrog, I see.
yeah, exactly. I have been describing myself as being Kermit the Frog's hangover this last week. Thank you. Um,
Trying to
I'd
remember
expect.
was it the Rainbow Connection or whatever song? I was trying to think of like a a parody version of that.
Um, yeah. So I've been kind of muted this week. It's been a bit shit. Um, Plus notice I haven't had to really go into my office, which is nice.
Yeah, that
But
is for you a boon.
we'll take it. 'Cause fuck driving around Seattle. Um, but otherwise, it's been very, very low key since we got back. Yeah, my life has been pretty tame. I've been playing way too much of the new League of Legends mode that came out. 'Cause that's been a fucking barrel of laughs. Um, and I had a tremendous amount of vitriol for a bunch of dumb game developers in Diablo 4, because how they be stupid.
How dare?
They're just dumb. They're just dumb. Like, they just nerfed everything for reasons. Because all it did is just make the game slower and more tedious to get to any kind of end game. Just like, really?
Thanks,
Why?
champ.
Yeah, and their league mechanic they made is really one-dimensional and really tedious. Like,
Raises thumb in approval.
eh, like they just, man, they suck. Like, it was so stupid. I could have done better. Like, Jesus. Like, I don't want to say that, but like, I could have, because I just could have avoided those stupid pitfalls.
Yeah.
What about you?
Let's see. Last couple weeks, I've been definitely going through some like really dealing with this motivation issue. Um, Wherein I want to do something, but I just don't have the like inner fire to
Mm,
like move.
yeah.
And so meeting with my doctor for the first time this coming Tuesday and hoping to be able to get a therapy appointment pronto because I think I should talk to a professional. Um Other than that, been playing Magic, watching anime, making podcasts, living up my most mediocre summer dream. Trying to think, I feel like something quasi interesting happened recently, but I am eyebrow thoroughly raised. God damn it. Hold on. Give me a moment of dead air here. I had something.
For things.
Things and stuff and fuck. Um Nope, fuck it. Jack shit. Just been just been mildly depressed and doing nothing super important. Uh yeah. Maybe there's some correlation there. I don't fucking know. Maybe it's because I haven't been going into work and I don't have that you know, kind of given
Structure.
well, not only structure but like that affirmation of, action. Or you do something and like, you get paid for it or you do something people's like, "Good job." Maybe that is something about it. Which conveniently ties me to our topic this week. Wow.
Seamless, seamless segue. Talking about workplaces in film and shows, and what has a good representation in our mind and why, as well as what has a pretty mediocre or poor representation and what's missing or gone horribly awry.
Some of these are going to just be titles, and we'll be talking about an aspect of them. As shows and characters and tropes vary. This isn't necessarily sweeping. There are some, however, that are going to be not particularly targeted at one. That's just going to be a broad
Or
claim,
broad
and
strokes.
I stand by this hot take. With that caveat, Boroskinkowski, take it away. What we got up on number one?
Are we starting good or bad?
I'll leave it to you.
All right. Well, we'll always do the bad news first. So, there's a lot of shows about doctors, and I mean, disregarding. I understand there's certain things you just like, you know, you don't want to take the show and make people wait a week for CAT scan results, or all the downtime there is in medicine. That would be fucking boring to watch. Fair. And as much as I love the show House, that man would be fucking fired. He assaults patients, like he breaks into people's houses, like he does just some crazy illegal shit that is not associated with being a doctor.
He does it on and off of fucking company grounds.
Yeah,
like he's doing drugs on company grounds.
Yeah, like he's had proven problems with addiction. Like he's had to check into rehab multiple times. Like, I mean, it's nuts the amount of ethical violations that man does. It's like weekly there's like a new ethical violation he's performing. Like he would just be fucking shit canned so fast. Like there is a very clear tightrope and ethical boundary that doctors have to maintain because they're in such a position of power over their patients that it's like there's a medical board for that fucking reason. That man would not have a license to perform medicine in any state in the country. No shot.
Yeah.
Like
no one's that good that any hospital's willing to take that kind of risk.
No. Also, in addition to that, doctors are very doctors who've been practicing for a long time tend to be very specialized. And so the fact you see him and his team bouncing between like consultations for everything and doing the surgery and no, that's absolutely not how that would work. They would refer consultations out, and they would not be doing everything. Like, especially they wouldn't be fucking doing all the different kinds of surgery.
Yeah,
no
they'd
shot.
Be doing one of the things that you see their team do.
Yeah, exactly. And they'd be doing them for like 100 different patients.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just that.
But like, I mean, that kind of speaks to your earlier point of how like for TV, a bunch of things need to be glossed over, and they want the main characters to be the main characters. You don't want them to get lost.
For sure.
Like in the masses. So
for
understand
sure.
why, but yeah, absurd.
But like with the rest
specialists
of
and everything.
That's the one I'm willing to give. But like the rest of the shit, no.
Mm-mm. Yeah, all of the other things about his person.
Yeah,
fired.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, I love Hugh Laurie. The show is still enjoyable.
Yeah, show's busted. Also, the fact that on the like, I'll accept it, but no, is the fucking the like stupid well of knowledge that his brain is. It's like, what are you, the internet? Like he just knows everything.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, in this, but not in that. It's like no doctor's gonna know that off the top of their head.
Yeah, they go look shit up.
Yeah. Like every time. I remember talking to a doctor and they're like the best invention, the most important invention was like the tablet or like the laptop for them so that they could like have just pretty quick access to like looking shit up.
Yeah. All right, what's next? We've beaten doctor into a hole.
Architects.
Architects.
This is more of a caveat than a category, I feel like, but it's just so absurd. Architect is one of those go-to professions you see in movies. It's usually a relative throwaway profession. You know, Ted Mosby and fucking How I Met Your Mother, multiple Tom Hanks characters in movies. They're just like, oh, he is an architect. And they never show him doing what they do, probably because it's boring as sin. It's just drawing on graph paper, the coolest. but there are literally more people that are architects in IMDb than there are IRL right now. Full stop. It has been shown like it is this popular profession that many people do. No, they fucking don't. You know why? They don't fucking need to. Like, it's just like, you don't need that many guys drawing buildings. It takes a lot longer to build a building than just to draw it. These are facts. So
Big if
while a cool
true.
profession, I do not mean to shit on it. It's just one of those ones that showed like irreparably larger than any of the others.
Um, but speaking of drawing boring things, uh, cops.
Nice segue.
Seamless. Listen, man, I'm firing short a cylinder or two over here.
Firing on
off.
all one cylinder today.
Yeah, cops have to do a notorious amount of paperwork. Um,
I talked
because
to a beat cop once. He said, as much time as you see me in my car, I'm at my desk.
yeah,
That's not a detective either. The people that do even more paperwork. That was
Yeah.
a beat cop. You know, the guy that drives around and goes, hey, you gotta get out of here, and then drives away. That guy has to do
yeah,
as much paperwork as he does
you have to
hammering.
like. There's a lot of overlap between police work filings and like social work filings in
Yeah.
terms of like you have to report incidents, you have to report interactions, you have to denote like basically any shit out of the ordinary. You have to record it. You need this giant fucking paper trail, basically is this massive CYA kind of thing, and that goes like again. What my little stint in social work, there's a lot of overlap with that and basic police work. In part because we run into each other a lot, um, and there's very few cop shows that show them doing paperwork at all. I'd add
For more than
one
a
of
second.
yeah, like one of the only cop shows that even like actually calls it out and makes a bit of a deal about it is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And it's not like a huge deal because again, watching people do paperwork is really boring, but they do consciously mention it and how like Jake neglects doing his,
Yeah,
and
it's
Holt
a it's
points
a
out
it's
he's
a
like it's
point
a
of
big part of your
conversation.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so they get the little honorable mention for at least denoting it and
They have an
calling it.
episode where they do a bunch of backlogging and stuff like that, but it definitely is, even in that show where they probably honor and notify that aspect the most, it is still done in the most
Oh yeah,
minute of circumstances.
it's very much done. It's done largely in passing.
Yeah.
Like, but at least they do give it a nod. I want to
Yeah, no, very much appreciation. But even in like our best showcase, it's like still like not even
it's
approaching.
downplayed.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Well, we're staying in the lands of police and investigation. CSI needs to knock this instant bullshit off. So those of you that have ever watched CSI, you'll know that whenever they get a fingerprint, they turn it in, and within the same day, they get the match.
Often within the same minute.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, we got a hit." I'm like, bullshit. Like, no, not especially not then. One of the best shows that to kind of counter this to show in the like approaching the vicinity of time that takes is David Fincher's Seven, where the the two main cop characters bring in a fingerprint and they wait around for the better part of 2 days sleeping on a couch just waiting for a hit because they can't do anything else but think about this guy. Don't know if that's an exact good representation of what you would do while you're waiting for a fingerprint. However, the amount of time it takes is forever. I don't know how much that's changed recently, but I know it's not instantaneous. Like
Yeah.
that shit takes hours, if not days, depending. Because it's going through an enormous database looking for an enormous amount of information. It's like comparing computer chips, like a billion times. Also, while we're on CSI, they're not fucking cops.
Yeah,
And
they're
in
not the
that
detectives.
Huh?
They're not detectives
Yeah,
in
they're
that
not
show.
detectives either. They literally don't have like one of those things where it's like they don't do that. Like they keep making all of these characters into one character, which is weird because they have cops around. So they wouldn't need the CSI to be the cop characters, but they have them constantly armed, walking in guns first. CSI is not that. They are literally like nerd techs. Like, like they're
Yeah.
doing the even nerdier the detective work shit. Like
Yeah, and they're still for some reason doing the detective work shit, and they're interviewing people and.
yeah,
Like that's
it's
not
like
your
they're just
job.
amalgamizing a bunch of characters. It's like,
Yeah.
bruh. Which again, weird because they have detectives on the show and they have cops on the show. That's like, why can't you
That like
just
are they're like liaisons for the police. It's
yeah.
it's really strange. That is one thing as I got older, like that glamour the glamour that show is like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Something ain't right.
Yeah, they're not getting into firefights, kicking down doors, going in guns drawn, or any of that.
Yeah.
The only thing they're doing is what the show kind of hooks you in with, or at least initially did until we got to Miami, which was just walking around, putting down a bunch of those little yellow number things, being
Yeah.
like, don't touch that, bagging shit, and then like taking it to a lab. That was accurate. The
Okay. That's
expediency,
where their job ends.
yeah, also that. There's plenty of job too, for the record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you're hitting triple digits in terms of evidence to analyze and pour over and denote and make notes of, yeah.
Speaking of hitting, also we've got
Um, fighting is an ass kicking.
wait, what? When somebody else is trying to knock you the fuck
Yeah.
out, that doesn't go
So
over swimmingly?
fighting is exhausting, even if you win. Um, like I mean, if it's a two-punch KO, all right, you can just hop, skip, and jump your way out of the ring. Fine.
Arguably, you're gonna have to because you're gonna be so full of fucking adrenaline.
Oh yes, arguably that. Um, and like, but if it's a fucking slug match, if it's goes the distance, split decision, whatever, you are tired. There is no world where you're not fucking done and just like you want to go home, maybe dinner, maybe a nightcap. I want to fall into a bathtub. Like you feel gross. Everything hurts. Like as somebody who's had the fuck kicked out of him, it sucks. Like you are never so gassed as when you've just been pummeled. Like, and so this notion that like people get out of the biggest offender. There's two giant offenders of this. One is Rocky, and the other is Warrior. It's like, but in both of those movies, they need medical attention. Like, Rocky has God knows how significant a concussion, and like probably should get a CAT scan to check his head for internal bleeding. And in Warrior, the notion of like having a tournament done over 4 days and having them be full length fights like that, Tom Hardy's
Multiple.
character probably could manage because he just shit stomps everybody.
Yeah, like he
Like,
does it the correct way of like 1 minute
yeah,
KOs. It's like, yeah, he
just
can actually
he
fight again.
blitzes people.
Yeah,
Like he could probably keep going. His sibling, however,
the minor's dead.
that man is a corpse. Like he maybe makes it through 2 of those fights. Maybe that's being generous as fuck. Like living through one of those, sure, you get one. Like humans can have really strong jaws. You could take a beating, fine. You're not doing that the next night. There's no shot because the cumulative effect of a concussion would start to kill you. Like
Literally.
head trauma compounds. You need time to heal. He is giving it no time to heal. He's just making it worse. That man is dying. Like, he needs a hospital. He needs so much anticoagulant to, like, relieve the swelling in his fucking brain.
It's gonna look like Marvin the Martian just.
Like, yeah, he's gonna have a speech impediment. He's gonna lose motor function pretty quickly. Like, that man is gonna die. Stop hitting him. Like,
His wife should be as worried as she is.
yeah, like, like especially since they set the context of him not being as good as he used to be.
Yeah,
And it's like,
he's a teacher.
yeah, he's a teacher, and like he goes and does a brawl like at a bar for extra cash, and then he goes to this. It's like, well, they're not chumps.
hold on. There is a time, to be fair, there is a time in between where he gets a professional trainer and trains hard as fuck.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's not enough, but he doesn't go from
Like,
like teaching to brawl to
like,
here.
but the thing is, like, he's fighting people who actually could beat him into the floor. Like, the
And
dudes
do
he's fighting are supposedly like the best of the planet, and he's
and they
fighting
do.
like, yeah,
They do beat him into the
they
floor. It's not like he
pummel
has
him
like
into the
even a
ground.
remotely easy
Like,
route.
he takes so many hits per round. You just watch him eat. Like,
Yeah.
it's fucking like he's hungry man at a buffet. Like, goddamn.
Yeah, like also that notion of like there are some people, there are outliers for sure, but that notion in fighting movies and especially that one with that character of being able to take just like full on just shots to the jaw and like keep going,
Dude,
like I mean,
at one point,
it's a tough bill of sale right there.
at one point he's fighting like the big Russian dude, like Koba or
Yeah,
whatever. He's getting his head hit into the floor.
yeah.
That fucks you. Like, I've
In case you weren't sure.
case you didn't know, I've had that happen. That fucks you. It hurts so much. Like, and I got a really light treatment, and it hurt so much. If you had a giant 250-pound heavyweight dude beating your head into the floor, you're gonna leave in a fucking body bag.
Or a bucket.
Yeah, like, yeah, just Jesus. That man, that is the most ridiculous, over the top. That man needs a hospital. He's not getting into round 3. That ain't happening. Sorry. Anyways, I'm gonna get off my soapbox here. What's next?
Well, if you'll allow me, I will take it and stand very tall.
Go for it.
Teachers. In any movie I've ever seen, the ones that are just being jolly fun, the ones that are being super ridiculous, the ones that are trying to be super realistic, some of them do an okay job, but a lot of them by and large show teachers having a social life, having a this, having a that. It's like, no, they don't. They don't. No. To be a teacher, here, like, one, you have to be there before the students, and you generally leave after them. So we've already established that your workday is plus 8 hours. So you're looking at about 8 to 9 hours, full stop. Then there's driving to work and getting back. Like, assuming you live in a city with some amount of traffic, that's probably collectively an hour. So we're looking at 10 hours. So we have 14 left. Only problem is we have to likely have eaten before. We're probably going to want to eat after, shaving a couple more hours. You have to now grade the paperwork that you got back and plan more. Your day's done. Bye. And that's 5 days a week. And then on weekends, if you gave projects, if on weekends you gave, like, it just incinerates. You have no time. You can do one thing, maybe. And so many of them, too many of them, show, oh, I've got a relationship. And no, you don't. You ended it with, I have a relationship. Like, to have a relationship and be a teacher, that relationship's going to suffer unless they are fucking Mother Teresa or a teacher who also understands. Like, those are the only ways. You can't have somebody with a career against a teacher and have it, like, work, generally speaking. From people I've talked to and seen. No. That's not a thing. So the reason a lot of teachers go with teachers is the same reason a lot of actors go with actors. They understand the shit show. And you gotta. Because it's fucking country to the max. You're being just given... Like, they show the damage students do to teachers some. It's more, trust me. And then past that, you have the lovely parents that are so fucking stupid that they believe their child's an angel. No child's an angel, lady. Sir. No. Your son is a douchebag. Your daughter's a bitch. Like, kids are capable of kindness, but often relegate themselves to villainy. It's just the nature of the playground. Lord of the Flies was surprisingly accurate when it comes to what kids do. trust me when I say that some of the biggest villains are the parents, because you have to talk to somebody that should be rational,
They're not.
and they're not, and you can't convince them of this, and somehow you're dealing with somebody of the same age as you calling you the bad guy when you've seen, like, it's just like somehow socially acceptable gaslighting. It, like, that you have to put yourself in
Yeah.
on the monthly or however frequent, like, parent teacher meetings are.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, and everybody knows this now, but the pay is fucking bullshit. I was looking at, so I work in a somewhat teaching capacity. I teach a little bit of a program at a charter school for junior hires, and then I tutor high schoolers. So I am around teachers a lot, and I do a little bit of teaching myself.
We also grew up.
Also grew up
we have
with
to
a
watch it firsthand.
badass teacher in our house who knows the fuck she's about, and got plenty of the straight shit. I don't remember where I was going with this. I got lost in the windup.
I think you have made the point, though.
No, there's something else I want to say. Ah! Oh, it was like talking about pay and stuff like that. So I was looking at during the summer, a lot of teachers, because again, don't make that much money, and you do get paid in quotes over the summer, but it isn't like the way it's spread out is a little bit of a misnomer that you get paid. It's not like apples to apples.
Yeah.
And one of my fellow coworkers was like, hey, I'm going to be working at this place during the summer. If anybody else wants to work here, I can. I don't know if he was saying you could put in a letter of recommendation, or he thought the pay was good, or that there was opportunity or some shit. But he shared the job listings with everybody at work. And I looked at it. All of these jobs, as far as I could tell, required a degree and at least you passing your CBEST, which isn't the easiest thing in the world, albeit not the hardest. So you have to have a 4-year degree and you have to have passed a test. Their pay ranged from being at, or arguably, depending what state you're in, under minimum wage, to less than I got for a job where all I had was work experience. It was a good job that I had work experience, but I definitely didn't have a fucking degree. There was one, this would make your skin crawl. I think it was yearly. I'm in Los Angeles, California, one of the relatively more expensive places to live on this planet.
Ain't cheap.
For the year for this school, for the on-site counselor, with which you would have to have the degree you have, if not greater, which is a degree in psychology.
Yeah.
You want to guess what they offered in pay?
I don't know, 42.
It ranged between, the range was, and all these had ranges for some fucking reason, which is just like them. I feel like they're just like baiting you with the top end, but they're just going to give you something resembling the bottom.
Yeah.
I believe it ranged from 24 to 50.
Even if you take median, you get 36.
Yep.
38, I guess. Jesus.
For one of the harder 4-year degrees you can get, and that's if it's at 4. It's probably wanting a master's.
I'd say it may want an LMHC.
Yeah. So that's 6 years, and that's way harder because then you got to do a lot of like you basically have to work the job, right? It's my understanding. You have to get hours.
Depending on the state requirement for certification.
Yeah. To then pay as much as like a McDonald's, like not even full manager, like shift lead gets. That's like a good McDonald's shift lead or a McDonald's manager for like 6-year degree and to work with fucking kids. Fuck you. Now, on to something nicer.
Sounds like you were working through some stuff there.
It was so like he sent me the link like, oh look, this is a good opportunity. I'm looking at these. I'm like, dude, go fuck yourself. Why are you trying to trap me in prison? Like, one of the jobs that I could have done that required a teaching degree, I would have made more money if I went and got a job at my local card store. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I would have gotten roughly $18 an hour to work over 40 hours a week with kids during summer. That isn't fun, by the way. Anybody that's like, oh, it's fun. No, it's fucking not. You're trying to keep kids from doing bad things for 3 months while it's hot as fuck. And I guarantee the building you're in probably doesn't have the right amount of AC for the amount of sweaty bodies that are going to be in there. So you're going to be in this cesspool of bullshit as you try to wrangle these feral cats that are somehow all on your fucking plate. That if something really bad happens, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. Fuck you. Next topic.
All right. Okay. Oh my. Anyway, swap to things that actually have some decent representation.
Yay! Oh god. Sorry, I just punched my mic.
Calm down. Some of the ones that stands out to me is actually a good representation of therapy, and notably from the movie Good Will Hunting, which you don't imagine Robin Williams as a therapist of all things.
Yeah, all right. You imagine him as your coke dealer.
Yeah, it's hard to parse that that's the same guy who did some of the most ribald stand-up comedy ever. Yeah, but
Man's got range.
man does in fact have range, and one of the more prominent things that's done really well about it is that it takes time. Most of the movie, a lot of the therapy is just like stupid anecdotes.
Yep.
Like some of the first things, and it's like that's one of the first fundamental things is establishing a rapport with the, with the client. Is that like there has to be something there. Like otherwise, I don't give a shit what you have to say.
Yep.
That doesn't matter to me. And that he's not just kowtowing to Will's bullshit and Will being the smartest guy in the room. Like it's done so well. I mean, it goes numerous sessions, it's affected a bit by what's happening to Will outside, and you see it reflected really, really well. And it takes a long time for that, that kind of, as much as it's the scene that's unfortunately kind of memed on, where it's not your fault. Because you can't lead with that, because it'd never stick.
Yep.
Because you'd just be some weird idiot saying it, and it wouldn't stick.
Yeah, you have to infiltrate their brain space so that you can lay that information down.
It wouldn't have the weight. You wouldn't, if you're not trustable, if you aren't legitimate to me, in my eyes, nothing you say matters. But by being trustworthy, by being dependable, what you say has weight. That's the only way that works.
Yep. I mean, to take a small brief aside, that's the same thing in storytelling when it comes to making someone care about a character. Like if you want a character to matter, you want their death to matter, you have to do the same thing with the audience and that character.
Yeah.
One of the other really cool things that I've seen people talk about in Good Will Hunting, because I've seen a lot of the like therapist reacts videos on Good Will Hunting, and they are very much in the same boat. They're like, this is a very good representation, but it also shows the humanity of the character. Goodwill, Robin Williams isn't this monolith. One of his first interactions, he kind of crosses the line where he's like, "Don't talk about my wife."
Yeah,
his establishing of okay topics, not okay topics is good. That is a healthy thing that therapists and people should do. However, the like threat of violence and like closure of space.
Yeah.
But like it's a human thing. That's a very touchy subject for him. He, had a human moment. And that's like not a bad thing. That's, he's human. That's fine.
Yeah. And the other thing about that I like is he then talks to him and just goes, "Oh yeah, you're a fucking kid."
Yeah.
It's like the one place he knows that that Will doesn't get to out him. It's like, you don't have the life experience I have, no matter how smart you are. So we'll do this every week because we can do it.
Yeah. And also that he like plays the game that like he doesn't try to eschew Will's challenge. He accepts it.
Yeah.
Because Will goes like, well, I'm not gonna, like, clearly it's like silent treatment. He's like, okay. And just like rides with him on that, as opposed to breaking him of that or saying that's like reasons for dismissal or non-service.
Yep.
Like good therapists will go, okay, like how can I, without unless it is a truly like devastating activity, and correct me when I get this wrong, but if, they are doing something, if they're going through something, you meet them where they are, and you kind of like do the turn into the skid, if you will, where you like ride the problem and you like go with them and you get them out of it, as opposed to try to pull them out of it from outside of it.
Yeah, in large part, it's you cannot force anybody to want to get better. Has to be they have to come meet you. Like you cannot interventions for most things don't work. Largely speaking, it's very, very temporary. The only way things have a permanent lasting effect is if the person wants to seek it out. You can't force it.
Yep.
Anyway, what's next? What else has been gotten right?
So I've been dealing poker since I was 19. I stopped this last year, shortly, I think, before I turned 35. So that was 15 years off and on. I was playing poker even before then. I still occasionally play it now. A lot of movies, in efforts to show good or bad play, show the hands in this really fucking whack ass way. Either the characters have the nuts all the time,
Yeah.
or occasionally they're doing a good regression, but it's still like they take it too far. Like there's this episode of Billions where a character who's super duper smart, and I love the actor that they're portraying them. They're like this a little bit of tokenism because the person's like, I think they're asexual or gender queer or something like that. Somewhere in that kind of uva, and they make them hyper detached and hyper intelligent. Okay, whatever. But there's this poker scene where they end up calling with like 10 high for like oodles of money. Is that impossible? No. Is it likely? Fuck no. Like, I mean, there are people have done it, but it's not common. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit hyperbolic, but I mean, whatever. There are poker moments that are equally bananas. Um, that being said, the movie Molly's Game does a pretty good job at most things poker. A lot of problems you see that I have in poker are as follows. Bet sizing. If you watch the game Rounders, there is a scene where somebody bets half their stack and folds. Probably not. It's very hard to do mathematically, and it's very ill-advised strategically. The other one, and this is mostly from old stuff, and it was, I repeat, never this fucking way. Eli bets $25. I go, I see your 25 and I raise, or I call 25 and no, you don't. You call. Shut the fuck up. You're done. You took your action. If you wanted to raise, say raise. If you wanted to call, say call. You cannot call and raise. That is a thing from a time that I don't believe ever existed, and definitely not this century. And there's a couple other like quantum mind space bullshit where like players are like basically like seeing through the felt or doing some weird shit like that. Kind of, but not really. The good representation that Molly's Game has, the strategy's fine. And I mean, like, honestly, as far as most poker players are concerned, it doesn't need to get super deep. It's fine staying relatively mellow. The game's plenty complex for the screen. What it does a decent job at showcasing is player interactions. Because poker players are a hilariously bizarre bunch. They do a good job at showcasing the kind of cool casual, playing, I'm having fun. They show a good job at the people talking shit, which is rampant depending upon the poker game you're in, and can be as like caustic as it's shown in that movie. Just like walking and like, what's up, douchebags? And like playing, like that's how you introduce yourself to the room. Seen that in person. There's the person goes on tilt. And this one I think is like one of the things that they did probably a better job than most showing it. Guy's having a good session. He's going to go to his wife's thing. He's crushing it. He's having a good session. He is an earner. This is what he does for a living.
Yeah.
And he loses one hand in a weird way, where he gave his opponent too much credit, which whatever. It's a thing that happens.
Sure.
Lots of players might stick around because they thought the player was bad. Plenty of players would leave because their wife is, at home. It's their birthday.
Mhm.
He gets tilted. And this is where, if you've ever been in a poker and been around a gambler, shit goes to the fucking wind and you don't know where it's going to fucking go. Sometimes, if you've seen the person get tilted, you can have an idea, but even then. In the movie, this guy, plays for like 2 days straight, gets a divorce, loses a lot of money. Yep, buy that. I have dealt to people who have been on their phone, been like covering up the mic. Yeah, honey, I'm on the way home. Highway traffic today. Jesus, you can't believe it. I'll be there soon. Hang up the phone. I'm just like, wow. And then see it happen 2 more times. Yeah, I got a flat. Sorry, honey, I got to replace this. The jack's just not working. I'm like, or what the fuck? Like, it's I haven't seen to the level of that Captain fucking the Captain, not Captain Jack. What is it? Captain Morgan commercial where people are making sounds to as if you were there. Nobody's like, boom, boom, like doing like weird like affectations to like make it seem like you're getting your car worked on. But other than that, I've seen it all. So the ability for poker players to be the whole gamut of intelligent and also just like brain fartingly stupid, doing dumb things. Another thing that I don't think they really show it that much. The degenerate, like there's a mild amount of degeneracy they show. I think they did actually a fine job with prop bets in the movie. Is it Lucky? There's a movie with Eric Bana, I think Drew Barrymore. It's not great, but there's some small aspects of that movie that do justice. One of them is there's like a lot of prop betting that happens where people will prop is short for proposition. So you'll make a bet like, I'll bet I can juggle 5 oranges for 10 seconds. And if like, if, cause I've never juggled, this should be a feat and difficult and blah, blah, blah. And they, okay, I'll put up 5,000. Okay. I think you're likely to do it. So I'll put up 4,000. That way, if I win, I get 5,000. If you win, you get 4,000. Cause I think you're kind of like pulling a fast one on me.
Yeah.
That thing was shown relatively well in that game. But a lot of the times the thing that isn't shown is some poker players can beat degens and win money in poker and lose more on the tables. And that is not uncommon. The amount of like people that like they're good because they're not afraid and other players are, and so they'll make a move that somebody else won't and be able to like make more money because of it. In poker, good. But the problem is that doesn't stop there and they can't stop themselves, and so they end up losing it all in the pits. That one hasn't been shown yet, but the Molly's game did a really good job at showing like the dime on which somebody can just snap, go from smartest, most reasonable guy to like the person that's going to give it all away. Seen it multiple times. Like all it takes is one, and that's multiple times. I've seen one moment. It's like he's done. It's over for him. Like he's going to have to like. He can win because poker has variance.
Yeah.
Very very infrequently do you get all the money in and have no equity in the pot.
But when
like
you start getting stupid.
when you start getting stupid, it's real easy to clean up.
Yeah. I mean, gambling is an addiction, and
Fact.
smartest people. I've seen really smart people on drugs. They get really really stupid. They do really really dumb shit.
And gambling is done. Like lots of people do mix gambling and drugs, but you don't need to. Gambling's enough of a drug for so many people.
I could get into the neurochemistry of it. I don't need to. It's a drug on its own. But moving on, so we could be here a while with this one.
Fact.
One thing that gets fairly decent representation, having talked to a few people who've worked as like waiters and waitresses, stewardess, or not stewardess, like hostess and whatnot, is a lot of food service. In part because it's not the hardest to represent, I don't think. Like,
It turns out everybody that like somebody has known somebody or done food service, so it's actually something that people have experienced.
Pretty easy to get in contact with or have experience for sure. Like the thing that probably gets overlooked sometimes is the gambit of in any kind of service industry. You get a gambit of you can have absolutely decent, hospitable people, and then just dickheads.
Yep.
Like, and I think it may be a little over dramatized, the movie Waiting does do a great scene where they have an absolute bitch at the table. Although it may not be dramatized given some of the horror stories I've heard of people having to deal with.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there was someone who was a hostess. There's a very popular dumpling place here called Din Tai Fung, or DTF, because of course it is. Um, and she worked as a hostess like on weekends. Jesus Christ, some of this shit she just like, kill me, just kill me. Like, and she was a hostess. She wasn't even having to deal with them past getting them to a fucking table, and they were still insufferable from the gate. So it's just
Yeah.
like, ugh, yeah, no, do not want. Like,
I've worked in many of casino, and so I have, hung out in the back with many people that are also working in the lounge, working in the, the steakhouse, everything like that.
yeah,
And yeah, fucking accurate. Customers suck. The funny one to me that, and they showed it in the movie a little bit. Lot of time there is commingling between coworkers, and they go and fuck in the fridge. A lot, a lot. That's so like, if you slip on something in the fridge, it wasn't water. Like, just know that. Like, you're leaving kids unattended with rooms that they can go slink around in under tension and duress. Like, they're gonna fuck.
yeah.
Like,
Is
don't be surprised at that. But the way they showed it in the movie, not only that, there's also the aspect of literally waiting around. Because there are rushes and lags, and sometimes you'll have a steady stream of customers. But depending upon the day, sometimes there's afternoons where you have 2-3 hours where you're not doing anything. I worked
mm,
at Arby's for like a summer and a half or something like that before they wisely fired me because I was a shit employee and a terrible kid. But like the amount of time we'd start my shift, I'd sit around for 2 hours and play Uno because we had nothing to do. Everything was cleaned, ready to go. There was just not a customer in sight because who's stopping by Arby's at 4:30 in the afternoon? It's not dinner. It's not lunch. Nobody's eating yet. Not really.
yeah,
Occasionally, we'd be like, get one person through the drive-through, run over, do it, and then go back to playing. Sometimes we could do it fast enough that it wasn't your turn yet, or you could like make a sandwich, give it to somebody, and then come back when it was your turn. Like, it didn't take long. But the amount of time, like, I think every single one of my managers was fucking another manager when I worked there. Some of them as couples, some of them not as couples. It's like rampant amount of just backhouse fuckery, literally and figuratively.
it's what is next?
Bookstore employees. This is a grand sweeping one because I couldn't think of any movie in particular. Nailed it. It is exactly as it looks like in my experience. I worked at a college bookstore. I had a girlfriend that worked at Barnes and Noble. There's some doing stuff, moving books around, like regular kind of like retail experience.
Just say shelving and whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah, but there's a lot of like, if nobody's buying a book, you have fuck all to do. And there's a lot of just shooting the shit and just hanging out. There were weeks when I worked at the college bookstore in Fallon, or the town where we grew up, just coming in, clocking in for 6 hours, and talking to my boss, and then going home and getting paid for it. It was not a bad gig. Thanks, Laura Butcher. I appreciate the free money. You were a great hang. I mean, it's just like, that's it. It really isn't like, I don't want to like demean any profession. Not that like deep of a profession. It's pretty fucking basic. And the
Yeah.
way they show it is, I mean, there are times where it's rushes. Like Christmas, it is a fucking shit job. There's many seasons, and there's some days where you're short staffed and you've got to do like wear multiple hats. Fucking blows. But when you have a full crew, it can be very frequently, or it used to be back in the day, and maybe they've like realized this. Like, wait, we don't need this many employees, so maybe it's changed. But back when we were growing up, it was like, nah, plenty of dead time, plenty of just hanging and talking biz. You're not like busy a lot.
Yeah.
What about you? What is
So, um, I can't say this one as a firsthand, but for obvious reasons, because I'm not a lawyer. However, I did listen to, and I love the channel Legal Eagle. If you don't, you're just
if not
wrong.
just for the the name?
It's a great name. But he So one of the things he'll do is go through reviews of law shows and lawyer shows and give them an accuracy rating. And most of them are kind of mediocre, because stuff is wildly over dramatized, and you know, many of like the same complaints with cop shows that we've had. It's like, well, it doesn't work like that. One of the exceptions was Better Call Saul, and if you've ever watched it, it does feel different. Um, and one of the big things he talks about is one of the first scenes of Jimmy doing public defender work, and up to like he comments on the bathroom looks right, like it's and warming up and giving opening statements in a mirror, like basically rehearsing it before you walk in and perform it in front of people. He's like that's things he'd experienced doing work as public defender and litigation. He talks about like being stuck in a records room just poring over shit. Like there's so much of it. Shows a lot of the minutia and doldrums of nonsense in lawyer work and in legal work that is so boring. Like it's so awful, and the show just nails it. It speeds up a few things here and there, like
Yeah,
by
because
and
we
large.
don't want to spend 2 days watching him go
Yeah,
over
exactly,
Discovery.
exactly. But it very much hits the nail on the head. And, like the consultation with legal people for the writing was just on point.
The only thing that some play, and it does depend. It is judge to judge. The only thing that he talks about for that show and a lot of other shows that is big gripe, while we're kind of on the lawyery subject matter, is the amount of people that walk into the well. No, you don't.
You don't do that, the bailiff will tackle you.
Yeah, it will. Bailiffs on your ass. Like you do not do that. You unless summoned into the well,
Or
you
you
do not
ask
go
permission.
into the well. Yeah,
You can ask to approach.
If you're super tight with the judge and that's been established, sure. But like every show, movie, and it's for cinematic effect, it looks better. But they walk into the well. Nope.
No, you get railed.
Yeah, they're like, the fuck are you doing? Like,
yeah, you ask to approach, otherwise the bailiff takes that very threatening and lays you the fuck out.
yeah, the honor, you got to protect the honor. There's one other thing that the show does really super well. I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it's the way that not you're talking about like the pep talks, but also I think is this one of the shows? I'm trying to remember. I've watched a lot of the show, but it's been a hot minute. That the way they do like the striking from evidence or the not striking from evidence, sorry. Objections. There's a lot of shows that they'll say the whole entire thing, and then after they're done saying it, the defense will be like, objection. It's like, where were you like 5 minutes ago? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you need to object that as early as possible. And I think this is one of the shows that does a decent job. I'm trying to remember. But yes, that's like another one of those silly things that there's like so many shows be like, blah, 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 like lay out this whole entire, like epitaph. And they're like, objection? They're like, I mean, sure. Like, the jury heard it. Like, yeah. We can have it stricken from the record, but they also still heard it. Like, come on.
Yeah. And yes, that is something the show is much better about doing. It doesn't just pussyfoot around necessarily.
Yeah.
Do a lot of unnecessary dramatization in court.
And this is actually one of the ones, well, while still needing to like look up, and I think they do a good job of not turning into Suits, which shows fun but a lot too glib for its own good, where they will do this thing of like citing court cases just from the hip. Go fuck yourself, your memory's not that good. It's like this idea of superhuman, like they might as well just wear capes. It's like such a superpower. It's like very Houseian. It's like, yeah, I mean, like, no, nobody ever does that. Shut up. And like Better Call Saul stays away from that. There's a lot of like homework being done, which I like really appreciate. Um, the it's very the way also in which like this is like one of the things where like so much of being a lawyer is knowing the way the law works. And so the situations that Saul Goodman gets into where he realizes this is illegal or like there's a thing here and acts on it is like accurate. The situations where he like runs into the cops and goes, actually, or I think there's one where he's at I think it's in season 1 where he's at like the old folks home, realizes bullshit's happening and like
Yeah.
locks himself in the bathroom so that he can write a he needs to do it before he's kicked off the premises, which he knows is about to happen, but he's in the bathroom, so I think he makes the appeal that he couldn't have heard them, like turns the fan on, and then writes a legal request or something like that so that it can be delivered before he leaves the premises. It's like that is something that a lawyer would know to do if they were smart and as wily as his character is. It's like it's fucking genius.
Yeah.
Thusly, Vince Gilligan, hire us, please. We want to work on your next project. You're the best.
No kidding. What's last on the parade?
Last but not least, dishwashers. Yep, sucks. Nailed it. Good job. All right, so after this break, no, I'm just kidding.
No, it's just terrible.
I mean, it's fucking garbage. It's like the worst position you can have, and it's usually shown as the worst position you can have. Good job. It's balls. Done it. It fucking sucks ass. It hurts like a motherfucker. Because one of two things can happen. You either wear skin-tight gloves so you don't have boiling hot water just in the bottom of your gloves. You don't wear gloves like a psychopath, and then you lose all feeling.
You get the asbestos hands.
Or, you've sprung for the non-yellow over-the-counter gloves and you've gotten something nice and tight. Now you're suffocating your hands for 8 hours a day. That's also not good for them. So you're fucking your hands left, right, either way. Then there's the expediency you need to work at. Because everything requires plates. And so you are just moving and grooving. You are never, even if it's relatively slow, you're basically never without work. You're constantly cleaning. Because not only do you have to clean the dishes that are going out, and there's a dish for fucking everything, you also have to clean the pots, the pans, anything that the sous chef used, anything that the cook needs clean so he can use it again. It's not, depending upon where you work, that may or may not be common. Looking at you, Denny's. But yeah, it blows dick. It's the worst. It's fucking garbage. Like, that's the job that the robots need to replace first. Nobody should. It's inhumane to have them doing that job. And then the pay is garbage. And the respect is zero. Like, all you can do is fail to meet expectation. Yeah. You cannot go... If you go above and beyond, you look lazy. Not a great look. Like, if you're just chilling, very rarely is the boss going to go by and go like, good job. They're going to be like, what are you doing? You're like, well, I did all the dishes. They're like... And they'll either find something for you to do or just like give you a weird look and walk by. It's not like any way respected or appreciated.
Yeah.
And it's like constantly demeaned. It's fucking shit. So, and I've never seen a show where they portray it as anything other than that, which, thank you. It's balls. Nailed it.
So we could have just stopped it. It's balls, no notes.
Yep. Balls, no notes. And with that, that dialogue donut, we're going to send it to our ad break, but we'll see you right after this.
Do you wish that you could engage in reckless acts of wanton violence? Do you wish that you had the confidence and constitution of a Navy SEAL? Do you wish that criminal liability was wildly subjective? If any of those ring true, action movies might just be for you. With plenty of morally questionable motives, and plots that sacrifice substance for style and explosions, action movies appeal to those basal urges that make us want to make things go boom. So what are you waiting for, killer? The day isn't gonna save itself.
We're back! Hiya! So, Brauschkenkowski. What you been tinkering with, typing at, thinking about? Doesn't work as well. Still alliteration.
So mostly dabbling with the character I'm calling Tyrant for right now. Um, and the whole idea is he'd be effectively a duplicate of someone, and used as a preventative method, or basically an emergency in case of emergency, break glass and let him out.
Yeah.
Because the whole idea is he's meant to be a copy of Eldritch from my web serial, and because he doesn't have the same experience that Eldritch has, he just has roughly an approximation of the same power. He is unstable by default. And he has to kind of come to grips with the fact that he is a worse copy, but still a huge problem. And so
he has to come to grips with that he's a problem?
He's never going to be as potent a thing as Eldritch was.
Ah.
He is a worse copy. Or he is an incomplete copy, in essence, because he doesn't have the same experience and time spent simply harnessing the power, because it's way unwieldy. And so it's my initial thought of him was not as a character so much as just a big plot device. Just kind of a bomb that the antagonist could drop and just say, I let him out of a cage if you push too hard. Which still is very much the case, but it's been interesting thinking about giving him effective characteristics and not just have him be a big mass of alien organ, and instead look at the human part of him too, where he was selected, and I don't know if he's gonna do it willingly necessarily, or just be pushed into the position, but you get to do this, Mazel Tov, good, you join the club, buddy, happy to have you.
Yeah.
It's wait, but no, I don't. And he has to deal with some of that issue of trying to measure up in the dumb, masculine, toxic machismo way of being I'm supposed to be as damning and as damaging as Eldritch was. But to do so, I have to lose track of who I am. And whether or not that's necessarily worth it for him. And whether he believes in what Ambition is trying to do and what she's effectively using him for as insurance.
That's fucking cool. It's got a lot of great bits in there of to toy around with in each and every direction, of having it be not only how do I feel about it, how am I able to accomplish it, if it's less or more, how does that make you feel? There's a lot of good character bits for this character you're coming up with. That's fucking awesome, bro.
Yeah, thank you. How about you?
Saw this morning on the shitter. So I was thinking about, there's hold on now, I need to look up which play it is. I think it's yeah. Okay. So they've made this kind of story a bunch of times. Literally, they made the original kind of version called Cyrano, starring Peter Dinklage, that came out this last year. Famously was made with Steve Martin, not his mother, Steve Martin, back in the late 80s, early 90s, called Roxanne. It's the kind of classic tale of ugly guy who's sweet, can't get girl because ugly, but helps dumb guy that's good looking to get the girl. And then there's,
hijinks ensue.
And then eventually, ugly guy or beautiful girl gets together with ugly guy who's beautiful on the inside. Usually doesn't have the good looking guy playing as villain or anything like that, but just
He's
he's
just a dumb idiot, yeah.
He's just a dumb idiot who, girl cute, me want, can't think, Cyrano help me. And they usually end up being friends too, this Cyrano and village idiot character are usually buddies. So it's just more the way society perceives persons. the way I kind of want to play with it, or this idea that I had, was what if. So I remember hearing years ago from my uh, very internet adept friend that some guy had written a program script to do dating apps for him because he was like, I can't be bothered. I fucking hate it. It's stupid. I never know what to write people. However, I'm really good at programming. So he did a machine learning thing that figured out that like looked at and like attempted like it made multiple accounts, or he like made it multiple accounts, and it tried a bunch of like opening lines that the internet kind of like suggested as being good.
Sure.
And he found the one that works. What worked at the time was, "Oh, I found you," or something like that, which was like really fucking weird. And then it used the opening line on just like every girl on a site, and then eventually got hits back, and then he was able to go on a date, and I think he ended up getting married. Very cool nerd story.
Yeah.
But in a world of AI that we're coming to, I was wondering what would happen in a similar circumstance if it was a really ugly programmer and he built an AI bot to, do dating sites, to do interactions, to have conversations with people. And then he builds the bot too good that he can't replicate it in person. And so he's stuck in this digital zone of being this, trying to think of like a famous lover. What's the go-to kind of Fabio, maybe? I don't know. This magnificent romancier who's, just like talking mad game, but then he's sitting like, pimple popping in some, under some bridge somewhere and just being like, ah, no, and stuck in this, has made the perfect tool that he has no ability to use the output of. And so he's stuck in either, I can't tell if I want the story to end with him, figuring it out and then, finding love. Other option is that it's also another AI from another sweaty nerd girl. So like, kind of
very
found
Black Mirror of you.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, I guess it is kind of Black Mirror. But just this idea especially with AI becoming, more and more an encroaching theme onto our reality, to kind of take an old constant story and put a bit of a new timey spin on it.
Nice.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I don't forgive.
Oh.
I love. So, speaking of things we love, what did you love watching that you would recommend other people do likewise?
At continuous prompting, from Coco, because he insisted that it was heresy that I hadn't heard the song "We Don't Talk About Bruno." I saw Encanto. It was quite good.
Decent.
Yeah, it had. I mean, honestly, it works because the music is really well done.
Yep.
But I also appreciate just the whole kind of narrative it gives about family expectation and perceived expectation, how it doesn't necessarily line up with like what you want to be or who you want to be, and how projection is not reality for many people, and that expectation is often debilitating rather than fulfilling. So I think it's one of those things that is very good. Like it's a very good message.
Yes.
Arguably a tad bit ham-fisted at times, but I think by and large it's still like it's a very relevant message that I wouldn't want to refute or dismiss from being promoted.
My only issue with I like the movie. It was fine. The music's pretty, it's Lin-Manuel Miranda kind of doing his thing. It's quite good. My only issue is that they don't ever really, from my memory, because I've only watched it once, but from my memory, her issue is, I don't have powers, everybody else has powers, thus, projection, feeling, wanting. Understand it. and talking about those feelings, going through expectations from, the top of your family down, and looking into all that, I think is very good. My only issue is that they never, like, they try to put up this idea of like, oh, not having powers is okay in a world of powers. It's like, nah, she should feel kind of slighted. Like, that's okay. She's the only one without a power.
I mean, but
Like,
but that's but that's not the big thing though.
it's not the big thing, and that's what makes the movie fine. But I really wish, like, they try to deal with that at one point, and they never do because you fucking can't. My opinion, but it's just like this idea of like, oh yeah, they all have powers and I don't. That's fine. It's like, bitch, really?
I
Like,
mean,
that's a
cope-
decade of therapy.
It's coping. Of course, that's what she says. It's a cope.
Yeah, but it's not really like she goes out to solve. From my memory of this, and this could be kind of incorrect, but my memory is that she tries to, like, that's her big deal in the beginning, and it ends up kind of getting not dealt with, but just kind of like, yeah, okay, and then other problems ensue. Which I was like, I think that's correct, but to have the character have that problem in a G-rated movie and then have it resolved when it is a very real thing to feel that way, I feel like is a bit, and it's an impossible one to resolve, really. So, like,
mean,
I think it's correct to not resolve it, but to ask the question
it is and it
is
isn't.
rough.
I mean, it's a matter of perception because it's
Sure.
like you could. I mean, the whole and one of the big things it tries to lean into is an idea of self-acceptance being what it is. You are dealt cards. You have to make deal with it.
Yep.
Like, and I think it does basically as fine a job as you can do without having a massive expose. Like, and that it's come to grips that she is not going to have powers like the rest of her family, and that's okay. And the problem is that her big grandmother is the one making it not okay
Yep.
because she was the family failure.
Yep.
Like, and so that was the primary issue, and I think that's fine, and I don't think they necessarily need to get into this notion of like basically being ripped off at birth, essentially. Like, I don't think that's necessarily something they need to dive into and delve into.
No. I don't think so. But I think if they're not going to, then to have the character be kind of bent on that is a little. That's where that's my kind of frustration with to put up this big problem that lots of people feel, and then for it to not be addressed, and for the story to be closed anyway, is just kind of like it's the reason that Chekhov's gun gets fired. Is because it leaves you with this feeling when it doesn't.
Again, I'd still argue that, I mean, if you want to boil that down, that comes down to a feeling of self-worth. Like, and I
Sure.
think, I mean,
For me personally, I just wish it was a little bit more direct. If that was going to be, if you feel like it was answered, I feel like it could have been answered better. Is my point.
sure, but I think you're looking too hard for something to not be there. Anyway,
Potentially. That sounds like a me thing.
anyway.
Encanto, go out, watch it. Let us know what you thought about it. Email us at superprosbros@gmail.com. It's superprosebros@gmail.com, or hit me up on Twitter at @likeikes, and let us know, did you think Encanto answered that question properly or not? Love to hear from you. Another thing that I'd love to hear is more people talking about having seen Haikyuu, because I cannot get enough of the show. It is somewhere between the best show for me right now. It might be, it's in my like running for top 3 anime all time for me. It is so fucking good. So Haikyuu is a anime about volleyball, predominantly 2 characters, but it really does focus on the whole entire team. It's from this once great school, not like, and they do one thing they do really well that a lot of other anime shows, especially sports anime shows, don't, is they don't make it stupid big. Like a lot of sports animes are like, this is life, this is, like, It's
Yeah.
their job. It's,
Everything.
sometimes it involves superpowers and shit like that.
Yeah.
This one is kids who love volleyball, aren't getting paid, and it's never really talked about as if it's a job.
Hmm.
And in fact, a couple times they're like, you guys should be like focusing on your grades or worried about your future. And they're like, volleyball. And it's like,
fuck that shit.
yeah. It's like, I get it. I totally understand that mindset, that feeling, that love for something that is just. I'm getting sick through the mic. It's just about the sport. You love it that much, and it really showcases that. And I don't think it does it in this like demeaning way. If you don't, therefore you are lesser.
No.
As much as if you, good for you if you do kind of thing.
Yeah.
I guess maybe it puts it down a little bit, but I mean it's a show about high school kids. The only thing that's kind of like I roll my eyes at, and like what like detracts it away from being not number one, and it's anime, so this is probably just a ubiquitous anime thing, is the amount of times that characters are like simping for their like girl coach or their girl like team captain or whatever like that.
Yeah.
It's like it's really absurd. There's never anything like particularly lurid or bad, but it is like it's got a lot of simping in that regard. But it's, oh my god, it's beautifully drawn. It's very hand animation. Characters are very lovable. The stakes are believable. Like we're never going to outer space.
Yeah.
Oh god, it's just so good. And it does a really good thing that I've been noticing I have a problem with in a lot of anime where they just explain. A third of the show is explaining. And the way they explain in this show, because they don't not, because it is like a sport that you're getting into a high degree of specificity with, and they want you to understand what's happening. They do it like in a natural diegetic way where they bring in characters who've never, like one of the main characters loves volleyball, doesn't know shit about it. Like he was in a school that didn't really have a volleyball program. He had to get everybody. Also, it's not a program. It's not like a Letterman jacket sport. These are just clubs.
Yeah.
So it kind of changes that, like, dynamic from the American experience, which is kind of fun. But they have, like, the main character loves the sport, is good at it, but doesn't know, like, keywords. He's just, like, has great raw athleticism.
Yeah.
Then you've got, like, their coach is relatively green. In the second season, they get this new girl who's going to be their future like captain or whatever like that, and she has no idea what any of this is because it's a small school, and like she gets kind of not tricked, but she gets conned a little bit by the previous or the soon to be previous captain. Like, you should come on and do this. She's like, it'll be fine. You don't need to know anything. She's like, okay, and then she gets there. She's like, I don't know anything. She's like, yeah, okay, we'll figure it out. And there's just a lot of explaining, but it's in this way that doesn't feel exhausting. It feels informative. They do it in really quick, small, bite-sized things. They do a really good job at not being hyper repetitive. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, even in American movies, you'll see this scene. Later, they'll do a callback to the scene where they'll effectively repeat the scene, occasionally through like a slightly different color palette to make it obvious that it was a memory, which is hilarious to me. They'll like shoot it, and then like when they replay it, it'll be in like a slightly grayscale to be like, oh, this was the past. It's like, yeah, I fucking know. But they do that really differently, where they'll have two characters talk, something will happen, and they will cut back to the conversation. Or if they're like repeating it, they do it in a way that doesn't feel like it's the same thing over again. It's more of like an explanation of why. It's so well done. I cannot get over it. And I literally am on the, like, it's a show that has all and no stakes. Every time I watch it's basically mono tournament arcs, because sports, which is kind of awesome if you're like a fan of like fighting shows and like the tournament arcs. This is just that forever.
Yep.
And they have, I don't know, just every single tournament arc, you're like, oh god, come on, win. But also they're super sweet. And the times, heads up, spoilers, this show is done well, so they don't win the whole entire time. When they lose, it's interesting. You can they do a really good job at showcasing the difference between, or like the kind of mentality it requires to be good at sports, because it's pretty clear this team is like in a very much freshman experience. However, they are going to be good. Is the kind of tale that you're being wrapped up in, which is awesome because you get to see somebody from just kind of raw to sculpted talent, which there is and they do a good job of doing this. There is a gigantic difference between them.
Yeah.
Like they lose to a team that doesn't have the talent that they have, but they have the practice that they don't.
Yeah.
So one of the things this show does is like when they are doing test games, like they're doing, they go and play a game against another team that they're both just trying to do this to get better. They help teach each other things. So like they'll tell they'll have conversations between other teams and they will learn stuff. Huh?
Isaac.
Yeah.
You need to let me watch the show.
What?
You need to let me watch the show, or let our listeners watch the show. Because if I let you go, you're going to keep talking for another 10 minutes about this show.
Okay.
We get it. It's awesome. Stop selling.
So good. Okay. Fine.
Do you have any?
Can I rec songs?
Do you have any earworms for the people
Dad?
before we go?
Yeah. Another thing I can't get enough of is the band Kiltro. It's more of a single act than a band, but that's the name of it. The group is Kiltro. It's I can't really explain it. It's somewhere between like Hispanic folk rock, maybe. I think it's from like Chile or something like that.
That's not the genre I was expecting at all.
Yeah, the name might be a little, might belie a different kind of vibe. The songs he sings have this very curious, it's like almost like uplifting melancholy. Great guitar, and just like, it's not going to leave you sad. It's not going to leave you happy. It's going to leave you, it's like after a job well done, like that kind of feeling of like, that is what I feel like when I listen to Kiltro. It's very soothing.
Gotcha.
So if you need that in your life, everybody does.
Everyone does.
Go check out Kiltro.
All right. With that is our show. So thank you everyone for tuning in. And if you enjoyed it, please feel free to
like,
comment,
share,
and subscribe.
But don't forget, new episodes of Super Pros Bros come out the first and third Saturday of every month.
Bye.